Hey everyone, welcome to Facebook Live. Sorry I was running a couple minutes late, but I'm really excited for today's Facebook Live because today I'm going to be talking about a book that I absolutely adore. It is called Better Than Before by Gretchen Reuben. And I also adore the author. Gretchen Reuben is an amazing person who can see her right here. You may know her already from some of her books like The Happiness Project, Happier at Home. She is a book nut. She loves reading like I do. And she also did me the honor of blurbing my book, Million Dollar Women. Thank you, Gretchen. But the thing I love most about Gretchen is that she is just so fascinated with how people work and why they do what they do. And in this book, Better Than Before, she helps us get at one of the most important things about our entire lives, which is what are our habits and how can we change them? So I'm super excited to share that with you today. I hope you're having a really good Thursday. It's a little hot and muggy here in New York, and I just ran back from speaking to about 30 girls who are working as volunteers for an amazing nonprofit called Magic Moment, where they are spread out all over the country, students who go into hospitals and entertain kids with cancer by putting on shows. They get all dressed up in these great costumes and they go in and put on shows in hospitals, founded by a 25-year-old, Kaylee. She's so impressive, and she reached out to me to come speak. So I just hustled downtown and did that, and was just so inspired by meeting these girls who are leading by stepping up and being chapter presidents for their organizations all over the country. So if you're one of those girls, thanks for being the leader you are. And if you're one of my masterclass members, thanks for being part of our community, or you're just a $1 Million Woman community member, we're so happy that you're here. Hello, Carol. Got some of my crew showing up here. All right, ladies. Well, you know that every week when I do these Facebook Lives, I tell you about a book in about the time it takes to do a shot. So today's shot brought to you by Laura Chipez, my chief of staff, in the traditional Wonder Woman shot glass. We don't know what it is. Every week it's a little different. Let's find out. There was chocolate. Yay. Thank you, Laura. I put a little ban on alcohol in the shot glass because I've been getting a little tipsy every week after doing Facebook Live. And I was like, okay, I got too much to do. I'm leaving on vacation soon. We got to lay off the alcohol for a week, Laura. So thank you for honoring that. Super. So let's get started with Better Than Before in the time it takes to do a shot. So Better Than Before is called, the subtitle is Mastering the Habits of Our Everyday Lives. And you might be wondering, why are you doing this as your mindset book, Julia? And that's because we usually are not even conscious of the habits that we have. We just get up and do things every single day on autopilot without realizing that the decisions we make and the habits we have is what shapes our lives. Are you in the habit of thanking people? Are you in the habit of feeling grateful? Are you in the habit of feeling stressed? You know, when I ran downtown today to give this talk to these young girls working with a nonprofit, we were talking about stress and how stress isn't something that you have. Stress is something you do. And each of us does stress in a slightly different way. I gave the example that I'm leaving soon on vacation. I'm finishing up a sales program. I'm writing my new book. I have a million unanswered emails, so much to do. And when I went down to give this talk, I could have easily been feeling stressed. I felt it coming up, but then I made a different choice, which was to feel grateful and honored that these incredible young leaders had reached out to me to come speak to them. So we always have a choice. And if we choose to do stress, then let's at least just own it and say, hey, that's what I do when things are feeling overwhelming. I choose to be stressed and not I am stressed. So that's a little mindset tip I'm throwing in for free this week. But so some of our habits could include stress. It could include getting up early and getting stuff done. Or the habit might include something you don't want, like procrastinating or blaming other people or always beating yourself up after you give a talk and saying, gosh, you know, I should have done that better. Why did I say that like that? I'll never forget when I took an improv class a couple of years ago. And one of the best things I got out of the improv class was the concept of show up, do your best, and then let it go. Because I had the habit of every time I did public speaking, going off stage and then running through all the things I could have done better and kind of beating myself up, which didn't make me look very much forward to public speaking. Now when I go and I give a talk, I just let it go. So what are some new habits that you could create that would make your life more enjoyable, that would make you more productive, that would make you like your work better. That's some of what Gretchen wants to help us with in this amazing book, Better Than Before. And Gretchen, I am so grateful to you for this. Hey, Charlotte, welcome, for writing this book. Because you know when you read a book that it just stays with you and you find yourself talking to people about it and recommending it to people and saying, hey, you got to take this quiz. Well, this is one of those books for me. In part, it's because I read it right when I was writing my first book. And I was getting up every day at 5 a.m. to write the book. If you read $1 Million Women, you know that I wrote the book, the first draft, in 37 days by waking up and writing from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Now, I'm not some superwoman who thinks that's a really fun thing to do. I had to get myself into gear to do that. And Gretchen had an amazing tip in this book that helped me so much, which she talked about pairing habits. That if you have a habit you like, and you're trying to start a new habit that maybe you don't like getting up early at 5 a.m. to write your book, to pair the one you like with the one you don't like. And that way, the one you don't like will seem easier to swallow. So what I did when I wrote my book was I got up at 5 a.m., I wrote for 2 hours, and then I paired that with going to yoga. I actually went to yoga every single day that I wrote. I love going to yoga. Plus, I'd sit there all cramped up writing and then go to yoga and stretch it all out. And plus, great ideas came to me in yoga, things I never would have thought of sitting at my desk. So that pairing became a real motivator. I know that also when I go running in the park, I always buy a coffee on the way home. So if I ever don't feel like going running, sometimes I just focus on how fun it'll be to buy the coffee and drink my coffee walking through New York City. I love doing that. So if you are trying to come up with a new way of motivating yourself to do something, that's one of Gretchen's tips. You can pair it with something that you do like, and that way it'll be more motivating to do the thing you don't like. And if you've ever done that before, please put it in the chat. I'd love to hear some of your experiences with changing habits. In fact, if you've ever tried to change a habit and found it hard, I'd love to hear about that too. I know that for me, when I decided to grow my business, I had to change a lot of my habits because, as women, I often talk about this, we're really socialized to work hard, not smart. And one of our habits can be to just work hard all the time, thinking that that's the thing that's going to get us, to the pot of gold at the end, when in fact, we know that it's really working smart that's going to help us achieve our goals, not working hours and hours and hours until we're so burned out that we're not even doing our best work anymore. So let's see. Here in Better Than Before, I want to give you kind of the essence of the book. Gretchen Reuben has studied thousands of people and come up with 4 tendencies. So each of us fall into one of these 4 categories, and I'm very visual, so I'm going to give you a visual on that. She has a great little chart for it. She also has a really good quiz you can take on her website to figure out which of the 4 tendencies you are. So you can go take that after. And so the 4 tendencies are very simply obliger, questioner, upholder, and rebel. And I talk about these all the time because you'll see that in life, you often run into people who are trying to change something and they're having a really hard time at it. I once worked with someone who was trying to lose weight and she just couldn't figure out how to lose weight. She's like, I tried every diet. I just get so frustrated. I feel like I try it and then I go off it and then I try another one and then I don't lose the weight. Hey, Laura, do you mind helping me find that chart? It was like the Venn diagram of the 4 different tendencies. Thank you so much. So anyway, we started talking about which tendency she might be. So if you are a rebel tendency, that means that if someone suggests you do something, your habit is, thank you so much, your habit is to not do it. If someone says, hey, don't eat cake for a week, well, guess what the first thing you're going to do is go out and buy one of those big Sara Lee cakes and eat the whole thing. That's the rebel tendency. Now, what if you are an upholder? Upholders love rules. So if you're an upholder and someone says, okay, this is the paleo diet. Here are all the rules. You cannot eat carbs. You can only eat meat and nuts, and you can only eat dark chocolate and no dairy. Then you will study that list. You will keep it in your phone. You'll refer to it 5 times a day. You'll take it to the supermarket because you are an upholder. If there's a rule, you will follow it. That's what an upholder would do, trying to lose weight. The third one is the questioner. The questioner would say, so why do you think I should do paleo? Has there been a study that shows that that actually helps people lose weight? Or am I just going to get fat from eating all that chocolate and meat that you're saying I need to eat? Prove it to me and then I'll do it. That's what a questioner would say. And the last one is the obliger. And it turns out that's what my colleague was, who was trying to lose weight. The obliger, if you say to them, hey, how about if I pick you up 3 days a week at your house at 7 a.m. and we'll go running together? Well, the obliger would say, absolutely, I'll be there. Now, if you tell her you have to get up 3 days a week and go running, it's never going to happen. If you tell her don't get up 3 days a week and go running, hoping she's a rebel, that's not going to work either. So you have to know what type someone is in order to help them change. So once we cracked this nut, she decided to go to Weight Watchers, because at Weight Watchers, it's perfect for obligers. They have you weighing in, they have you coming to weekly meetings, sometimes more often, where you're sharing with other people where you're at on your journey. And having that kind of accountability to others is the motivator for obligers. So if any of you thinks you know what you are already, put it in the chat. I'd just be curious, just for me describing those. And here's the picture with the 4 tendencies. I'll just let you take that in for a minute. It actually can be kind of fun to try to figure out what tendency your spouse is, or your partner, or your best friend, or your colleague. And of course, once you crack that nut, it is so much easier to help them change a habit, even when they might not want to change. Like, my boyfriend is a total rebel. So if I want him to bring me flowers, right? The worst thing I can do is be like, hey, I really think you should bring me flowers once a week. That would really make me happy. Well, the last thing that's going to happen then is to get flowers. But he's kind of a questioner. So if I were to say, hey, you know what? When you bring me flowers, that really makes me feel loved. That's one of my love languages. I think gifts are my favorite way of having love expressed to me. Well, now he understands why flowers are important. And so lo and behold, I get flowers. So if you start studying this method, and it's really not very hard to grasp, you'll find that you can understand people in your life better and help them make shifts. And you can make shifts in your own life. Shifts that are extremely important to achieving your goals, to having better relationships, to liking yourself more. Because sometimes we have habits that don't serve us. I had a habit for a little while of every time I was getting ready to go to bed, I decided that there was no way I was going to sleep through the night unless I had a bowl of cereal. Had to have a bowl of cereal because the milk was going to put me to sleep. So I got into this bad habit where I was eating a bowl of cereal every night before bed. And then I felt really awful about it because that was just unnecessary calories. Why not just strap that stuff right onto my thighs, right? I had to run another 20 minutes to get rid of that. And it just wasn't true that I needed the bowl of cereal. So how did I change that habit? Well, first, I had to know which method would work for me. Now, I happen to know that I am an upholder with a little bit of a questioner. I actually really like rules. So for instance, I work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and one day on the weekend. And that's just a rule I made up. And I pretty much never miss any of those days. I don't need someone to meet me in my lobby. I don't need someone to explain why. It's just a rule and I do it. So when I decided to get rid of the cereal eating habit, I made a new rule, which was I could only do that once a week. So once a week, I could have the bowl of cereal, still have the little treat, but at night, that was no longer part of my routine. I think for a little while, I replaced it with a glass of water or something. That's another really good tip that Gretchen has, is to replace one habit with another habit. That way you're not kind of going cold turkey. If you like to snack in front of the TV, well, instead of snacking on Cheetos, right, you could snack on sunflower seeds. That's another really good habit trick that she has in here. Let's see. There's another thing I wanted to share from the book, which is she talks about how to make change convenient. We sometimes underestimate how having things convenient can help us to make changes in our life. So for instance, let's say you're one of these people who's always saying, I should really go to the gym, but then you never actually do go to the gym, or you don't go as often as you like. She says to take a look at the things that you're having trouble creating habits around, things that you know would be good for you if you did turn them into a habit, and break them down into all their steps, and then see where it's too inconvenient. So I'll give you another example from my own life. I go to the gym 3 days a week. Well, I have an entire drawer dedicated to my gym stuff because for a little while I was having trouble getting to the gym because I had to rifle through all my drawers and find the stuff for the gym. And then sometimes I couldn't find the bag I used for the gym, or the keys had been put into another place. Now I have a whole drawer. All it has in it is the bag for the gym, the keys for the gym, and all the stuff I need to take to the gym. So all I have to do is grab it and go. She gives an example in the book of somebody who keeps a gym bag fully packed at his house, at his girlfriend's house, and at the office. 3 sets of stuff. Now, you might think that's ridiculous, but hey, this guy is probably ripped, right? So who cares what gets him there? If you want to have things go more easily, then break down the tasks that you're resistant to or procrastinating into small steps, and maybe change what some of those small steps are. If you're having trouble eating healthy, for instance, maybe you want to use one of those services like Fresh Direct, where you order your food and it arrives and it's just good to go and you don't have to think about going to buy healthy food. I know that when I got into juicing, I started ordering juices from Fresh Direct, and I just always had them in my fridge and I could make a healthy choice really easily. If I had to go out and buy a juice and find a place that had one that was fresh and wasn't expired or wasn't too far away when I got hungry, it never, ever would happen. So those are some of the best tips from this amazing book, Better Than Before. And what would be a good next step if you're curious about which tendency you are, upholder, questioner, obliger, or rebel, then head over to Gretchen Reuben's site and fill out her quiz where you can figure out which one you are. Then when you do, that'll help you decide how you can change your habits in a way that works for you, because we all have different approaches, and what works for a rebel would definitely not work for an upholder, and vice versa. I hope you'll have a lot of fun with this. I've had a really fun time with this, in both with friends and with my partners and with my coaching clients. So I'm sure you'll find yourself referring to this as much as I do. Thanks, Gretchen, for this awesome book. Thank you all for being here with me. Great to see some familiar names popping up. And I'll see you guys next week for my last Facebook Live of the summer. This has been so much fun. I've been doing these every Thursday at 3, but I'm heading out on nearly a month-long vacation. Super excited with my kids. So I'll see you next week, and I hope you have a terrific, wonderful, habit-filled week. Until then, bye. Thanks for tuning in.